Hi and welcome to another Tales from the Hut Hangar episode covering rare and obscure airliners. The General Aircraft ST-18, later called the Croydon, and in some cases had Monospar also in its title, was a 1930s British cabin 10-seat light transport. General Aircraft Ltd in 1934 appointed David Hollis Williams as chief engineer, and he commenced the design of the ST-18, a passenger twin-engined low-winged airliner with a cruising speed of 190 mph and a range in excess of 600 miles. It was powered by two 336 450 horsepower Pratt & Whitney SB9 Wasp Junior 9-cylinder air-cooled radial engines, with a conventional tail but with very low horizontal stabilisers, a tail wheel, hydraulically retracted main gear and a large cargo door. And the most notable feature was its unusual upper wing bracing struts. Right, some technical information on the ST-18. Had a crew of 3, that's a pilot, co-pilot and wireless operator. Its capacity was 10 passengers with a toilet and baggage compartment. Its length was 43 foot and 3 inches. Wingspan was 59 foot and 6 inches. Height was 14 foot and 3 inches. Its wing area was 454 square foot. Its empty weight was 8,000 pounds. Gross weight 11,350 pounds. And as touched on before, its power plant was two Pratt & Whitney R985 Wasp Junior SB 9-cylinder radial pistol engines, 450 horsepower each. Its performance, its maximum speed was 203 mph, maximum range was 900 miles. Its service ceiling was 19,500 foot. And you can see on the screen now an article from Flight covering the basics of the ST-18. You can't see this sort of thing very well on this kind of platform, so I've posted a link in the description of this episode so you can have a look at your leisure. And here's a lovely shot here of the prototype and sold ST-18 with the registration Tango 22. It later became Golf Alpha Echo Charlie Bravo and first flew at Hamworth Aerodrome on the 16th of November 1935. It was piloted by Harry M. Schofield and by all accounts it performed well. And finally on the 16th of June 1936 the C of A was issued. So interest in the ST-18 was limited. You can see in this photo it now carries the registration that was issued on the 2nd of July 1936, and as mentioned that's Golf Alpha Echo Charlie Bravo. As far as interest went, the only one I know of was Oceanic Airways of Australia. They had shown an interest in the aircraft right from the start. They also operated a number of General Aircraft Monospars from which the ST-18 had evolved from. And here's a couple of nice adverts for the aircraft. In fact, the only two I could find. The one on the left particularly is really nice with the engines. Also, I can't find any film footage anywhere, and surely they must have recorded some for PR reasons even back then. So in this photograph and the next few coming along, well, until its end of its days, it had a dark painted tail. I don't know if it's related to the airline that's going to buy it or they're going to put a company logo on it. I wonder what colour it was, dark blue, black, green, who knows, but it would be interesting to find out why it had a dark tail. So the interest is poor. British Airways looked at the ST-18 but preferred the American-built Lockheed 14. So Major C.R. Anson of Anson Airways, who operate the Monospar, indicated an intention to buy 5 of the type for a proposed Australia to New Zealand service, but the condition was if the prototype completed a record flight from Melbourne to London. So a challenge was set. So in order to prove the aircraft, plans were made to position Charlie Bravo to Australia. The only modification to the aircraft was the installation of 2 extra fuel tanks, which increased the fuel available by 40 imperial gallons. The idea was to operate at normal weights and not exceed the normal maximum cruising speed in order to simulate normal airline operations. So Charlie Bravo left Croydon, London on the 30th of July 1936 and flew to Melbourne in a total flying time of 76 hours 43 minutes, and the distance was 12,507 miles. Its average speed was 163 mph. Various stops were made, Karachi being one of them, where they had a big delay, so this stopped any record attempt on the outbound flight. After a demonstration tour of Australia, the aircraft left for Melbourne on the 6th of October. This was to set the record for the Melbourne to London flight. So now it's time for the record attempt back to England. They stopped at Darwin on the first night. Charlie Bravo departed Darwin for Kupang, Timor at 4:47 local time. The crew were planning to reach London in 5 days. So the weather was fine and there was a tailwind. However, the aircraft ran short of fuel, landed on Sering Apatam, I think as they pronounce it, reef, nearly 300 miles off course. During the flight, they covered 600 miles. So this account was recorded. I'm not sure of the source, but I'll go through it. Circling to find the best location to set the machine down, the pilot made a touch and go, landed to confirm the suitability of the reef. It appeared firm, and on a second flat approach, landing was successfully made with no damage to the aircraft. Bringing in fuel for a subsequent takeoff from the reef even seemed a possibility. When the pilot elected to taxi to a higher dry area of the reef, the aircraft's tail wheel fork fractured from the rough surface and dropped the tail to the ground. The tide was now low, but it was rising rapidly. That day the tide would rise to 3 foot, in a few weeks it would rise to 14 foot, enough to submerge the aircraft, and during the springtime it would reach 20 foot, with heavy swells from the northwest monsoon possibly breaking up the aircraft. The crew's first action after landing was to run out a trailing wire antenna supported by 2 collapsible boat oars. Wireless communication was attempted, though they heard both Darwin and Surveyor. Contact with neither could be made. The port engine with generator was started in order to recharge the batteries run low by the radios. After 2 hours it was realised that contact was not possible. Personal gear and 4 days' rations and water were loaded into their collapsible boat. After some very, very hard days at sea, they were all rescued firstly by a fishing boat and then by the SS Nemoda, a British cargo steamer, and it was 100 miles from the reef they landed on. So that was it. With no chance of salvaging it, the sole ST-18 sadly and slowly succumbed to nature. One thing, the crew escaped with their lives, but sadly that was the end of the aircraft. As for General Aircraft Ltd, they merged with Blackburn Aircraft in 1949 and renamed Blackburn and General Aircraft Ltd. By 1958, the company reverted back to simply called Blackburn Aircraft Ltd. Just over a decade later, they had a go again, building the Blackburn H.S.T B-9, and sadly that was also a failure. And you can hear its story on this very channel, so the links for this are in this episode's description. Anyway, the ST-18 seemed like a good aircraft and looked the business, even with the upper wing struts, but simply and plainly, it did not attract sales. Anyway, thanks for listening to this episode, and there's more available on this channel, so please have a look. Look in the description and like and subscribe, which would be greatly appreciated so we get some feedback, and no doubt more will follow this one. Thank you very much, and see you soon.